Let's go. All right, welcome everyone. It is now 6:30 p.m. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. It's August the 5th, 2024. We do have a quorum here tonight. You have myself, Derek Parks, Chair, Michael Braley to my left, Vice Chair, Susie Mendoza, I'm sorry, that just walked in. She's a member, and to my right, we have city staff, Ben, Director of Development Services. And on his right is Kevin, he's a member also. And on Kevin's right, we have Brian Bell, which is an alternate member. We have two consent agenda items tonight. Two of those, one of them will be the July the 1st, 2024, approving the minutes, and July the 22nd, 2024. Members, y'all have any questions regarding those? They look good. All right, and can I have a motion for those items, please?
Move that we accept.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. The consent agenda items have been approved. Moving along to new business, which is number 2 on your handout, if you have that. And this is a public hearing and consider zoning change from highway oriented to plan development 176 to allow a reduction in landscaping, parking, and signage requirements due to TxDOT right-of-way taken on the site described as Lot 1R, Block A of S&H Business Park, Phase 1, and addressed as 100 Harris Avenue in the city of Red Oak, Ellis County, Texas. Case number Z as in zebra, C as in cat, 24-14, requested by Seldina Properties LP. Staff, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. This property is addressed as 100 Harris Avenue. As you can see on your screen, is right off of I-35 for the gas station. Texas Department of Transportation has taken right-of-way in the red shaded parts. So they're going to have to they've removed the pole sign, but they're going to relocate it to another area. And this was already a straight zoning district, and it was built and constructed prior to the adoption of our current zoning ordinance. So the sign was already constructed closer than allowed to the property line. It's meant to have a setback of 25 feet, considering its size. But they're requesting to relocate it to this area here, which would be about 5 feet and 4 inches from the property line. The site will also be losing landscaping due to the right-of-way taking. So the applicant will be replanting landscaping within the site, adding it to different areas. I should take you to the landscape plan. They'll be planting it in different areas within the site and along the right-of-ways, both trees and shrubberies. Although it won't meet the minimum landscaping requirements, they're coming as close as possible, giving the site constraints. They will also be restriping the fire lane within the site and adding other improvements, such as adding a masonry screening wall around the dumpster and metal doors as well. And they are also proposing to brick up the columns of the monument sign, as you can see, and also add masonry to the canopy columns, stone masonry. To improve the site. The site didn't have enough parking to begin with. The text dot right of way taking it won't be affecting the parking, but the parking would also be covered as part of this PD to allow the parking as is. They're required to have 40 per current parking requirements, but they have 25 parking spaces. So that would also be covered in this PD. So it's the signage. They'll also be relocating the flag poles that were on this corner, and they have to be relocated due to the right-of-way taking. So it's the signage, the poles, the landscaping, and the parking. And they're adding other site improvements such as the dumpster screening and the metal doors. And
And
restriping.
the parking is so intense, the requirement of 40, because the end cap has a little restaurant. Is it Church's Chicken?
Yeah.
Right? And so even though it's mostly drive-through business, we still have to count the parking spaces at 1 per 75, which makes the requirement so high. So it's obviously been in use and been functioning fine, so there shouldn't be a real concern that there's not enough parking on the site.
And staff recommends approval. The comprehensive plan does support convenience store with gas pumps. We are here for any questions.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. Those in favor of this item, you can go first. Please state your name and your address, and those who may be against this agenda item or have any questions, you can go second. And the floor is now open.
Lisa Swift with GSO Architects, 5310 Harvest Hill Road, Dallas. I'm the applicant working for the owners, and I'm here to answer any questions. We respectfully ask your approval tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, can I have a motion to close the public hearing, please?
So move.
All in favor?
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Public hearing has been closed. Commissioners, I have any questions or concerns?
Question about the pole sign. You say it's gonna be moved. Is it the same design saying we're gonna, the same type of sign that's out there is gonna be there?
Right.
Do we have any pictures of that?
Mhm.
I'm just wondering how big the base is. Is it gonna obstruct the view of people coming up, turning to that stop sign right there and making the right turn?
I think you can go to the street view where you can see the old sign.
Oh, yeah. And then this is what they're
Yeah,
posing
that's
on
the
your
new
screen.
Okay, so it's open on the bottom? where
Yes.
The columns are?
Yeah, so it's 10 feet from the bottom up.
Okay.
And it looks like it's set well back from frontage.
5 feet and 4 inches.
Oh, that's set back this way.
But it doesn't look like it interrupts the view from the stop sign for someone to turn
Right.
in either.
It was
whether they're turning
originally,
right Or they're turning right onto the frontage road.
yeah, it was originally in like in this, right around this area.
And aren't
Oh, do you want me to pull it up?
all the properties gonna have to do effectively the same thing with TxDOT?
Yeah, if they want to come in and pull any permits, then they're going to have to do that. But let's say they're not needing to pull any permits or get a new CO, they could technically just stay like that. But this property would have to get a new sign permit for this.
Yeah, the way the ordinance is written, you can just keep on doing what you're doing. The problem becomes when someone comes in for a new CO or they sell the land and that person comes in for a new CO. And we have to check all the things we have to check for COs, and part of that is checking for landscaping and parking, and that's how we get into a lot of these where we're having to change the zoning.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any more questions? If not, can I have a motion for agenda item 2, please?
I move to approve agenda item 2 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes. Ayes have it. Agenda item 2 has been approved. Agenda item 3 will be postponed to the next meeting. Moving along to number.
Just Commissioners, real quick, on agenda item 3, we did not receive all of the information we had requested from the applicant for the meeting and for the packet. And so we all agreed with them that the postponement of the hearing would be until the next, until the September meeting, which we'll go ahead and renotice all the property owners so that they're aware that the change has taken place.
Ben, do you need a motion on that or is it?
Just motion to postpone.
Yeah, I guess we can motion to postpone until staff
Next.
receives
I
appropriate
move,
documentation.
I move that we postpone.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda item number 3 has been postponed to the September meeting. Moving along to number 4 on your handout. Is conduct a public hearing and consider a zoning change from Plan Development 66R5 and AG Agriculture District to Plan Development 175 to allow for the development of a data center complex and associated infrastructure on an approximately 32.4 acre tract of land situated in the Benjamin E. Fraser Survey, abstract number 371, Ellis County, Texas. Case number Z as in zebra, C as in cat, 24-13, requested by Walton Red Oak Crossing LP. Staff, please.
Commissioners, this is a request for conceptual submittal for a data hall complex center. This property is located on the southeast corner of 342 and Avila Road, behind this gas station here. And it composes of this site, and a portion, just a portion of this side. Which I'll show here. Access to the site will be from 342 and Avila Road, and both access points will be gated. As mentioned earlier, they are proposing 2 data hall buildings, and each will have to meet its parking requirements, and each has a generator equipment yard, which will be screened from right of way. So the site consists of part of this portion of the south tract here. As you can see here. The site will have 8-foot wrought iron security fencing as shown on the plan, as you can see here. And it will also have evergreens screening along certain sides of the development. It's here. Goes throughout this site. An evergreen screening is an opaque type of screening. They're typically green all throughout the year. And as you can see, these are the equipment yards. The applicant also submitted elevations showing the proposed screening, and this is conceptual, just so that we can get the idea of how the site will appear. The buildings will be required to be 100% masonry with the option of using concrete, tilt-up, precast panel walls. And as you can see, here's the screening, and with the option of using the decorative, architectural, metal material at the front. It is at the front, and here are the generator yards. Here's the screening. And this is the 8-foot wrought iron fencing, security fencing. The site will be required to meet the city's minimum landscaping requirements with the exception of certain conditions such as the front yard landscaping requirements. But we do have requirements, for example, for one tree planted every 40 feet, one 3-inch caliper, 3-inch caliper tree. And when they do come back to submit their detailed plan, they'll have to submit the landscape plan, which will include all of the landscape tabulations. It'll include information about the species of the trees, the spacing. And then as you can see, this would be representative of the evergreen screening.
You go back to the site plan, I was gonna add a couple things.
Sure. So the maximum allowed DBA from the property line will be 65. Other data centers in the city, it's at 70, but we requested a lower DBA because this one has a greater proximity to the residential subdivision to the east of it. The noise would typically go on, for example, if emergency generators were to turn on, or if when construction goes on the site, if this is approved. And at that point, they're able to exceed that DBA. Yard section, the screening, 15 feet. And all generators will be required to have some sort of sound attenuation device to reduce the amount of noise that it produces.
And those are just emergency generators.
Correct.
If the power goes out, they're not the type that they're not powering the building, except for an emergency situation.
They did submit this PD development standards. So when they do come back to submit for the development standards, they'll be required to meet all of these requirements. So that's going to have to be accompanied with the elevation plan, the site plan, and the landscape plan. They're also going to be required to submit a photometric study to ensure that all of the lighting is pointing downwards and it doesn't bleed over or illuminate onto the adjacent properties.
Right, so the kind of big concerns that we had with the developer when we first came in, we first started talking, and it was their concern too, was the folks on Aileen here. They're not in the city, but we still didn't want to have connections to Aileen or Eileen, I don't know how you say that, but so that's why all the connection points are on the state roads, as well as trying to push the buildings as far as possible from Aileen. So you can kind of see there's a 146 to the right of way, and then the right of way is an additional 60 feet to their property lines, which then is another 25 feet to their front of their house. So there's quite a bit of buffer between there, and that will all be landscaped and securely fenced off. So then the next part was, okay, well, when you do got to run the generators, they're gonna be loud. Well, let's face them interior so that when they do have noise, it's kind of interior facing and you're getting blocked by the buildings. Can you kind of scroll up a little? Sorry, scroll down. So one of the first concepts we saw had this red square here, what is a on-site substation is what they need for their power consumption. The first renderings we saw, the red square was where the blue triangle is. And so we asked if they could alter that so we could get the substation as far away as possible from lots. And they complied. They thought that was a good idea as long as they could fit it in, and they were able to get it in there. But that, we were trying to get everything to be as far away as possible from the existing homes. But that's all I had. So any questions we can answer as well.
So the detention pond is going to be the detention pond falls basically into city. Because that's Cool Manor,
It goes into the creek back there.
right? Okay,
And,
Yeah.
and its purpose is just to hold water till it runs off,
It's to
It's not gonna be-
detain, yeah, it's to detain
detain
the water between the existing condition flow, which is a big field, so it's not as much.
Right.
To a developed condition, which is a lot of paving and
Paving.
rooftop. And so it detains that difference.
So this is a public hearing. So those in favor of this item, you can go first. Please state your name and your address, and those who may be against this item, you can go second, or if you have any questions.
And this is the fencing.
I can figure out how to. If I do that. Is that better?
Yes, that's fine.
Tommy Mann, 500 Winstead Building in Dallas. I represent AREP, who's the data center developer that has this site under contract, and staff's done a good job, so I'll try not to be repetitive, but their comments are reflective of the collaboration that has led to this concept before you tonight. And it's really driven by being sensitive to the residential adjacencies. The only things I would add just to what they pointed out, this, south of this point here is actually started out of the city. We've petitioned for that to be annexed into the city limits and be zoned and considered by you all in the city council. There are significant improvements to the intersection planned by TxDOT. The access points that we show here, we've got conceptual approval from TxDOT on already, and we've designed the site to account for those future decel lanes and intersection improvements. You're pretty familiar with the data center land use in Red Oak at this point. As you know, once it's up and running, the traffic generation and all those sorts of things are very low. But obviously you have to construct the project. So a lot of attention is paid to how does that happen when it's under construction. And the good news on this site, all of our access is off TxDOT highway. And even during construction, this is going to be the main access point. Aileen won't be used at all during construction and really won't be used at all even once it's up and running. And then everything else that staff pointed out, we've moved the service areas central so that the buildings themselves will provide attenuation. This distance at the closest point from a building to a residential lot line is about 250 feet. These lots that are in the city are many hundred more feet from the buildings themselves. We did take staff's input and engineer the site to ensure the detention area was here just to create essentially a large open space buffer. So it's a site we're excited about. We think it works well. We're requesting a PD primarily because, data centers are considered an industrial land use, but we don't want to zone this site for any industrial land use. It's being zoned as a PD just for data center. The industrial classification does comply with the comp plan, but if we got hit by a bus, you couldn't put a warehouse here. All that can go here with what we're proposing is a data center, which we do think fits well on this site for the reasons that we've outlined. With me tonight is my client as well as the design and development team if you have specific questions, but I'll leave it at that for now. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Tina Cheney. I'm at 230 Castle Creek. I am in back of that particular facility. Right now, I'm concerned about the fact, because right now when it rains, my, I have the big open thing in which the water is well, sometimes it's over my fence. And so with the new construction, what will there be, I know you have the retaining thing here, but would it cause more water to come into my yard because my yard floods? And it takes a minute to go back into the creek.
Can you bring the picture up
Can she bring that?
to
area
the very point where
So
the triangle?
are
is?
you the one that lives on the 10 acres?
Yes.
Okay, so your backyard is supposed to flood?
Yeah, I mean, no, but
We've
it.
talked, I
it-
think,
it-
before, right?
Yeah, but it's coming up over the fence sometimes, which is the 6 foot fence. And I'm concerned, will that, when I purchased, they didn't say that it was gonna, he told me it was gonna drain and not go that high.
Yes.
And so I'm concerned about the new construction. Will that actually cause the, I think it's this one.
This one?
Mhm.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, Shane?
That's it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. And so I'm really, because right now I'm concerned that when First Texas, I put in a request that they put some what are the drainage, because when it really rains, it's like I'm on an island. The water gets over my 6 foot fence, and I'm concerned about, will this cause any damage? Also, the construction, will that do any pollution? I know it's a retaining thing there, and I'm okay with it. But I want to make sure, as far as the construction, any pollution, the generators, we're used to the train, so we don't care about this.
So the
But my biggest
generator,
thing is flooding my house, because right now with the big heavy rains, it's 6 feet and I'm on an island, and it takes it a little bit to drain into the retaining thing into the creek. And so with the new construction, I'm very concerned because First Texas still hasn't put additional drainage on my sides. And I don't want my house to flood.
Okay.
understood.
Makes sense.
So your lot has the detention pond for
Yes.
your entire neighborhood.
Yes, it does.
And unfortunately, you got stuck with it, the way the developer developed the subdivision.
I mean, will it cause, right now
So
it
the
goes 6
point-
feet.
Yeah, so the point of the detention is that it would detain back to existing, so it wouldn't have any more water running off it than it already does. But when they do their engineering plans, we're gonna give them the engineering plans from your subdivision
Ah.
and make sure they tie into
Okay.
and do what is necessary to keep additional flooding from happening.
Okay.
That's part of our permitting process and part of their design process from the engineering side of things.
Okay. So let me ask you this. If I have any concerns or anything, do I just come to the city and speak
Yes.
with you all in reference to
Yes.
that?
Mhm.
Okay. And any damage, you all will fix it also?
We wouldn't do that.
Well,
The
who
the
would I go to?
developer would be responsible
Okay.
if you believe that developer caused you damage, then you would have to
Mm-hmm.
seek damages from the developer.
Okay. Okay. And so that would be information that I can get
Yes,
and the developer. You would have no problems if you cause damage that I will, you will fix those damages. Okay, I appreciate it. I have no problems. Thank you.
I'm Patrick Klein with American Real Estate Partners and Powerhouse Data Centers. Really just here to answer any questions, and Kimberly Horn's with us, our civil designer. So questions like this, we'd be happy to address to the council if you want to go through it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, can I have a motion to close the public hearing, please?
Motion to close the public hearing.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Public hearing has been closed. Commissioners, I have any questions regarding agenda item 4?
My only question would be when anticipated construction would be. Is that a 5-year window? When would you anticipate starting?
It should be less than 5 years. The number one driver of it is going to be Encore, who, when we initially got the site under control, had it said that power would be available within 3 years, which would dovetail nicely with pre-development and construction. It may get extended. They've ordered an area study now, and we're waiting for them to tell us when they are comfortable that it will be there. But the plan is to proceed into pre-development and construction as soon as 2 to 3 years, unless Encore pushes it out. But the other thing I would say is that the two buildings, this is relatively small, so that they would be constructed in one phase.
Okay. Okay,
But I think that's important. They also noted, that you couldn't turn this into a warehouse facility, and that's.
No,
the
I
way the
think that's-
zoning is
that's
written,
wonderful.
It's only for data
yeah,
center. that
it's
you
only for a
couldn't
data
just-
center.
Yeah, you couldn't just throw on some exterior doors and call it a warehouse distribution center.
Amen.
I know this is just so, but are we planning on a 7-story building with it?
No, these are 3-story. It's a maximum height of 70 feet in the PD as it's written.
Does that include the,
There could be a pertinent like mechanical and parapet screening around that stuff on top of the roof above that.
Okay,
But
so
the
it-
primary building, you can see it in those elevations. I think it's 68 feet to the top of the actual building.
okay. And then for Encore, because, that's always, electrical in Texas is always the big deal. Their job is to make this seamless. Because in our neighborhood, I happen to live in this neighborhood, but I'm not in the affected area. I happen to live, my backyard goes into her backyard. But I'm not in the affected area that has a vote. We don't get outages like Red Oak gets, other people in older areas. And so, of course, she would want it to stay that way, like the rest of us would. And so Encore's job is then to make sure that this is a seamless integration of electrical and not sucking the life out of our neighborhood.
Your lips to theirs and ERCOT's
Yeah,
ears.
exactly,
Who are
and
conducting
ERCOT's,
that
yeah.
joint study together right now.
Yeah, I know
Yes.
that doesn't fall on you. It's.
Well,
it's-
but I mean, their entire business falls apart without it. So we are certainly aligned in the need to make
Yeah.
sure that is reliable.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Are y'all gonna have a back feed from somewhere else, like a second point of feed of
I'm not-
electric?
Yeah, that's a Pat question.
I was just asking because I know the Compass sites, worked with Encore and got a second. So it actually made the system more robust in the area,
Yeah.
essentially.
Now, there's transmission lines that cut across the property in the back of the property. Our substation will come off that transmission line. Before Encore did the regional study, they had a capital improvement plan to upgrade that line. So it would make the area more robust. That's an older transmission line. But no, we are just coming off of that one transmission line. The substation itself will have multiple transformers for redundancy for the buildings. But no, we are not backfeeding it from a separate transmission line.
We did receive a letter, from, 101, Valley Ridge Drive that was, for this agenda item, WP Legacy, Clyde Hargrove. So we did receive one letter, regarding that. I guess my question, and you talked about it, you were saying in regards to, individual here tonight about flooding in her, in her backyard. You were saying those two engineering reports will come together to make sure.
Yes, yeah, so we'll have to give those to Kimley Horn, their designers,
Okay.
when they do the site, they're gonna ask us for all the as-built around the area. And then they'll tie in theirs as well as this south property, this 188281. They're doing some work with FEMA right now to kind of adjust this floodplain that's within the creek right now.
Okay.
So they may not address her current issue, but they won't make it worse.
That's what I'm
That's
thinking.
the
So
intention.
That's what I'm
That,
thinking.
that's the intention, but I don't know that the drainage as it's happening on her property right now was supposed to be doing that. It just looks a little scary because it's on her property
Mhm.
instead of an HOA lot, which is what we require now.
Right.
Is all detention ponds be on an HOA lot.
Our civil's here if you want him to take a shot
Sure.
at it, but before he does, I'll say my experience with this issue generally, and I'm not sure when their subdivision was developed. But the standards have gotten much more strict. And what often happens is when they provide us the plans for their subdivision, they don't meet current standards. It'll fall on us to get everything functioning up to current standards. So we may actually end up detaining even slightly more than we, depending on what that looks like. Now, if their subdivision was built 2 years ago, theoretically, it would be up to current standards, but you can probably explain that better.
Yeah, the one point I was going to make is that oh, you're good. No, the one point I was going to make is that with the zoning that we're seeking at this time, even though the zoning after the zoning goes through, the subdivision ordinance is still something that we have to comply with, and that's the regulation that we have to abide by as engineers. And so as we're looking at the site, we have to look at the existing conditions, what's the flow coming off the property today, and we can't send additional flow downstream. We've got to do evaluations on the creek and be able to verify that we're not causing adverse impacts. So that's the reason why back on the site plan, you saw the detention pond. That detention pond's function is to hold back that water and then release it at a slower rate to ensure that it doesn't flood downstream. So happy to answer more technicalities on that, but that is certainly the process that we would go through via the subdivision ordinance and the permitting after zoning. Yes, correct.
The problem is, it takes long, sometimes a while for it to release the water from our division to that creek. And so it's gonna be a very big concern of mine, because if you also releasing it to the creek, and it's already taking a long time to release it from just our division, what issue, like what could they cause me?
Well, I'll say it this way. I think we're happy to go through and meet after this and be able to walk through and explain how that process works, just without getting into all the technicalities of it, because it is a very technical analysis, but it is something that we are required to abide by.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the explanation. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
I have a question. We were talking about the construction window. Does the city have requirements for start and stop for construction?
It would just fall under the noise ordinance. So that's from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. or 10 p.m., I think.
Okay.
You know, it could be placed in the PD if that's something the commission found. Yeah.
Yeah, we did that for the other one.
Yeah, those are standards that could be placed in the PD.
Yeah, so for instance, if you wanted to, no work on Sundays, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Saturday only, we could place that in the PD. Obviously not painting the inside of the building or anything, but just like heavy construction work on the outside, like cranes.
Bulldozers and cranes.
Right.
And whatnot. Okay.
All right. Any more questions or concerns? Can I have a motion for agenda item 4, please?
I move that we accept the proposal as presented.
Construction hours or not.
Yeah, yeah, I like the 7 to 7, Monday through Saturday. I think that's reasonable.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Agenda item 4 has been approved. Since that is the end of the agenda items tonight, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Move that we adjourn.
All in.
A second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. We are